Funan holds a unique position in the tapestry of Southeast Asian civilizations. Established in what is now modern-day Cambodia and southern Vietnam, Funan was the region's first known centralized state, marking the beginning of organized political entities in this part of the world. The kingdom flourished from around the 1st to the 6th centuries CE, a period marked by its strategic location along maritime trade routes that linked the Indian Ocean to the South China Sea. This geographical advantage not only facilitated the exchange of goods but also ideas, religions, and technologies between the Indian subcontinent, Southeast Asia, and China. Furthermore, Funan's political structure, characterized by centralized governance under a monarch, set a precedent for future Southeast Asian polities. The kingdom's ability to manage diverse ethnic and cultural communities within its borders laid the groundwork for subsequent states to emulate, contributing to the region's political evolution. The Kingdom of Funan emerged in the fertile Mekong River Delta region, encompassing parts of present-day Cambodia and southern Vietnam. This geographic location was pivotal to Funan's development, as it facilitated access to both maritime and inland trade routes. The delta's abundant resources supported agricultural activities, particularly rice cultivation, which formed the economic backbone of the kingdom. Early settlements in the Funan region likely began around the early centuries of the Common Era. Archaeological evidence suggests that indigenous communities, possibly Austroasiatic-speaking peoples, inhabited the area prior to the establishment of Funan as a centralized state. These communities engaged in subsistence farming, fishing, and rudimentary forms of trade. Funan's transition from scattered settlements to a cohesive political entity remains a topic of scholarly debate due to the scarcity of contemporary written records. However, historical sources and archaeological discoveries provide glimpses into its emergence. It is believed that Funan evolved as a result of interactions between local communities and incoming Indian and Chinese traders and settlers. The precise date of Funan's establishment as a polity is uncertain but is generally placed around the 1st century CE. The adoption of Indian political and cultural models, including the concept of divine kingship, Devaraja, played a crucial role in shaping Funanese governance. The establishment of centralized authority under a monarch marked a significant departure from earlier decentralized societies in the region, signaling Funan's transition to a more complex socio-political structure. Indian influence on Funan was profound and multifaceted. Early Funanese rulers and elites adopted aspects of Indian political organization, religious beliefs, notably Hinduism and later Buddhism, and artistic styles. Indian merchants and Brahmin priests likely facilitated the transmission of these cultural elements, contributing to Funan's integration into broader Indian Ocean trade networks. Chinese influence on Funan, although less dominant than Indian influence, also played a significant role, especially from the 2nd century CE onwards. Funan served as an intermediary for Chinese trade with the Indian Ocean world, importing Chinese ceramics, silk, and other luxury goods while exporting local products such as forest products, gold, and spices. The interplay between Indian and Chinese cultural influences in Funan created a unique syncretic environment that enriched the kingdom's cultural and intellectual life. This cultural amalgamation not only contributed to Funan's prosperity but also laid the groundwork for subsequent Southeast Asian civilizations to engage with and adapt these external influences. Funan's political structure was characterized by a centralized administration under a monarch, marking a departure from earlier decentralized societies in Southeast Asia. The kingdom's administrative hierarchy likely included a tiered system of officials and administrators who managed various aspects of governance, including taxation, law enforcement, and public works. At the apex of Funanese society was the king, or sometimes queen, who held considerable authority and often wielded religious as well as political power. The concept of divine kingship, influenced by Indian models, imbued the ruler with a semi-divine status, reinforcing their role as the link between the earthly realm and the spiritual world. The institution of kingship played a pivotal role in Funanese governance and society. The king was not only the political leader but also the chief patron of religion and culture. Funanese rulers likely legitimized their authority through ties to divine ancestry or mythological narratives, which helped consolidate power and maintain social order. Alongside the king, an aristocracy of noble families and elites supported and benefited from the centralization of power. These aristocrats held positions of influence within the court and administration, often serving as advisors, military commanders, or regional governors. Their loyalty to the monarch was crucial for maintaining stability and territorial integrity amidst external pressures and internal challenges. Funan's strategic location at the crossroads of Indian and Chinese trade routes necessitated adept diplomatic maneuvering. The kingdom engaged in diplomatic relations and alliances with neighboring polities, as well as distant empires such as the Han Dynasty of China and various Indian kingdoms. Diplomatic exchanges facilitated trade agreements, military alliances, and cultural exchanges that bolstered Funan's influence and security. Through these alliances, Funan not only secured access to valuable goods and technologies but also navigated regional power dynamics to maintain its sovereignty and expand its sphere of influence. Moreover, diplomatic ties with Indian and Chinese powers introduced new ideas, technologies, and religious practices into Funanese society, enriching its cultural fabric and contributing to its intellectual and artistic achievements. Funan's prosperity was intimately tied to its strategic position along maritime trade routes linking the Indian Ocean with the South China Sea. Situated in the fertile Mekong River Delta, Funan served as a crucial entrepot for international trade. Indian Ocean traders brought luxury goods such as textiles, spices, and precious metals, while Chinese merchants exchanged silk, ceramics, and other manufactured goods. The kingdom's control over key ports and harbors enabled it to levy taxes on trade transactions, contributing to state revenues and facilitating the accumulation of wealth among the ruling elite. Funan's role as a middleman in this maritime trade network allowed it to accumulate economic resources and cultural influence, solidifying its position as a regional powerhouse. Agriculture formed the backbone of Funanese economy. The fertile lands of the Mekong Delta supported intensive rice cultivation, which not only fed the local population but also produced surplus for export. Other agricultural products included tropical fruits, vegetables, timber, and forest products, which were traded domestically and internationally. The development of irrigation systems and agricultural technologies, possibly influenced by Indian and Chinese expertise, enhanced agricultural productivity and supported population growth. This agricultural surplus not only sustained urban centers but also fueled trade and economic prosperity, contributing to the kingdom's wealth and stability. Funan's economic success was also reflected in its urbanization and infrastructure development. Major cities such as Vietapura, modern-day Angkor Bore, served as political and economic hubs, facilitating administration, commerce, and cultural exchange. These urban centers boasted impressive architecture, including temples, administrative buildings, and public monuments, which underscored the kingdom's wealth and cultural sophistication. Infrastructure development included the construction of canals, reservoirs, and road networks that facilitated trade and communication between urban centers and rural hinterlands. These infrastructural improvements not only supported economic activities but also enhanced social cohesion and political control over vast territories. Funan's cultural landscape was profoundly shaped by the interplay of indigenous traditions with influences from Indian and Chinese religious beliefs. Initially, Hinduism served as a prominent religious tradition, with deities such as Shiva, Vishnu, and Devi worshipped by the ruling elite and urban population. Brahmin priests likely played a crucial role in religious ceremonies and rituals, linking Funan to broader Indian cultural and religious networks. Over time, Buddhism also gained prominence in Funan, particularly Mahayana Buddhism, which emphasized the bodhisattva ideal and the pursuit of enlightenment for the benefit of all beings. Buddhist monastic communities, supported by royal patronage, contributed to the spread of Buddhist teachings and the establishment of religious centers across the kingdom. Funan's religious syncretism, blending elements of Hinduism and Buddhism with local animistic beliefs, contributed to a rich tapestry of religious practices that fostered spiritual guidance and community cohesion. Funanese artistic expressions reflected the kingdom's cultural dynamism and influences from Indian and Chinese traditions. Architecturally, Funan's cities featured impressive structures such as temples, palaces, and administrative buildings. The architecture often incorporated elements such as tall towers, intricate carvings, and symbolic motifs, showcasing both religious devotion and political authority. Sculpture in Funan flourished, with artisans creating statues and reliefs depicting Hindu and Buddhist deities, as well as local mythological figures. These sculptures adorned temples and public spaces, serving as expressions of religious devotion and artistic craftsmanship. Pottery production was another significant artistic endeavor in Funan. Funanese pottery was known for its distinctive forms and designs, often characterized by elegant shapes and intricate patterns. Pottery workshops produced vessels for daily use, as well as ceremonial and decorative items that reflected the kingdom's cultural sophistication and economic prosperity. Funan's intellectual life was nurtured through the transmission of knowledge and ideas, facilitated by interactions with Indian and Chinese scholars and the establishment of educational institutions. Literary works, although sparse in surviving texts, likely included religious texts, epics, and chronicles that documented royal genealogies and historical events. Education in Funan encompassed training in religious texts, administrative skills, and artistic techniques. Brahmin priests and Buddhist monks served as educators, imparting religious teachings and literacy skills to the elite and aspiring scholars. This educational framework supported the cultivation of intellectual pursuits and contributed to the kingdom's cultural vitality. Externally, Funan faced mounting pressures from neighboring polities and maritime powers. The rise of regional powers such as Chenla and frequent raids by seafaring groups disrupted Funan's trade networks and territorial integrity. These external pressures strained Funan's resources and undermined its ability to maintain control over its expanding territories. Economically, Funan's prosperity was closely tied to its role as a maritime trade hub. The kingdom facilitated the exchange of goods ranging from luxury items like spices and silk to essential commodities such as rice and metals. However, shifts in regional trade patterns and the emergence of competing trade centers challenged Funan's economic dominance. This economic instability, compounded by possible environmental changes affecting agricultural productivity, contributed to Funan's gradual decline. Following Funan's decline, its territories underwent a period of fragmentation and transition to successor states. The Kingdom of Chenla emerged as the most prominent successor, centered around modern-day Cambodia. Chenla expanded its influence over former Funanese territories, integrating aspects of Funan's cultural and political legacy while establishing its own distinct identity. Despite its political dissolution, Funan's cultural and religious legacy endured throughout Southeast Asia. The kingdom played a crucial role in introducing and disseminating Indian cultural and religious practices, including Hinduism and Buddhism. These belief systems became integral to the spiritual and artistic expressions of subsequent Southeast Asian states, influencing architecture, sculpture, and religious rituals. Funan's architectural achievements, such as temple construction and urban planning, continued to influence regional styles long after its political demise. Artistic traditions, including pottery and sculpture, evolved and thrived in successor states, reflecting Funan's early contributions to Southeast Asian artistry. Moreover, Funan's legacy extended beyond culture to encompass economic networks and trade routes that persisted and expanded throughout the region. The kingdom's role as a maritime trade hub laid the groundwork for future Southeast Asian trade networks, facilitating cultural exchange and economic integration across diverse societies. Funan's historical significance lies in its role as one of Southeast Asia's earliest known centralized states. It represented a pivotal point in the region's political evolution, transitioning from decentralized societies to a structured polity under the leadership of monarchs who wielded both political and religious authority. The adoption of Indian cultural and religious practices, including Hinduism and Buddhism, enriched Funanese society and laid the foundation for cultural syncretism that would characterize Southeast Asian civilizations for centuries to come. Economically, Funan's position as a maritime trade hub facilitated the exchange of goods and ideas between the Indian Ocean and East Asia, contributing to economic prosperity and urbanization. Its urban centers, adorned with impressive architecture and artistic achievements, reflected both indigenous traditions and influences from India and China. The legacy of Funan endures in Southeast Asia through its cultural, religious, architectural, and economic contributions. Culturally, Funan introduced and disseminated Indian religious beliefs and artistic styles, influencing the development of Khmer and Cham civilizations and contributing to the region's rich cultural tapestry. The kingdom's architectural achievements, exemplified by temple complexes and urban planning, set precedents for subsequent Southeast Asian architectural styles and city layouts. Religiously, Funan's embrace of Buddhism and Hinduism provided a spiritual foundation that persisted throughout Southeast Asian history, shaping religious practices, rituals, and iconography across the region. Economically, Funan's establishment of maritime trade routes and commercial networks laid the groundwork for future trade hubs and economic integration in Southeast Asia. The kingdom's expertise in rice cultivation and agricultural techniques supported population growth and urban development, enhancing regional prosperity and connectivity. In conclusion, Funan's historical significance and enduring legacy in Southeast Asia underscore its pivotal role in shaping early civilizations in the region. From its strategic location and political innovations to its cultural and economic achievements, Funan left an indelible mark on Southeast Asian history, influencing subsequent states and civilizations and contributing to the region's cultural diversity and historical depth.